Welcome back to this discussion on calculating risk. We are looking at the same scenario where we have a total of 221 at-risk boys, and of those, 23 have been exposed to abuse, unfortunately been exposed, and 198 have not. Those boys were followed forward to see if they developed that specific outcome of a suicide attempt. And you can see the numbers here where we have a certain number from each of those particular categories that did have that outcome. Now, one of the things that epidemiologists like to do is we like to arrange data in what's called a 2x2 table. So let's take this data and arrange it. And the process of arranging it actually helps us to understand that data better. So what I like to do is I like to think about the process of how we come to knowing all of these little bits of information, because it helps remind us what we can and cannot do with our data. So first of all, I like to point out that we started off with 221 individuals in our study. That was our starting point. We literally went out and we collected this group. Once they were collected, then we decided that we wanted to find out about their exposure to this abuse variable. So there were 23 who were, and 198 who were not. These should add up to 221. I think they do. And then we followed them forward in time and found out about their actual disease, the suicide attempt. And there were then 14 who of the exposed, 14 developed that disease, and 49 among the not exposed who developed that particular disease or outcome. Now, one of the things that we can do is we can fill in these particular other numbers. It's not really going to be helpful to us, but it's just a process of math. The one that we can add that is actually helpful is right here. And so we find out that a total of 63 out of our starting number, 221, did end up with the disease, and so that can be a helpful number to us. So that is a good number for us to keep track of. A couple of things to keep in mind when we're looking at this particular example, and a lot of times when we're doing this sort of thing in epidemiology, we have taken this exposed variable and made it to be yes, no. That makes it dichotomous. And we have also taken our outcome variable that we follow and measure as a yes, no variable. And so we have dichotomous by dichotomous, hence why we get to have a 2x2 table. So disease is dichotomous, exposure is dichotomous. There are other kinds of variables that we may want to investigate in a particular study, and we'll be learning about many more types of statistical tests, but for the purposes of what we're doing here, we are looking at two dichotomous variables. So thank you for joining me on how to arrange the cohort data into a 2x2 table.